What is up, guys? We are live from Investacard, but recently, all I've been hearing has been live from CardFi with the founder, Eddie Siegel.
Yeah, the little audience here. Yes, we do. We are live from Investacard here, live from Laguna Beach, and finally get a chance to get on this white couch that I've been seeing. And my man Sasha, it's nice to be here. And coming over driving, I thought I was gonna run into a bunch of traffic in the morning, but it was smooth sailing all the way through. And then once we got into Laguna, so relaxed here. I mean,
it's a mellow environment out here in Laguna.
Love it. I love it.
We did have one hiccup today. Franklin hit his foot on something, and now we're doing a take two.
Oh,
I had to throw it out there.
Okay,
it's gonna make Franklin better.
Yeah, we're used to doing just one takes. There's no editing on our side. We just go right into the videos. So that's how we got.
Yeah, you guys push out like a lot of content. I feel like TikTok, Instagram. I mean, I feel like you guys maybe aren't going live as much now, but like for the last couple of years, you guys have been going live a crazy amount.
Yeah, that's how we started this whole thing. Live from Investacard. So, so many people have been hearing that, and it's amazing when I see other people do videos and they say, "Oh, we're live." You can see the look on their face, almost like, "Am I allowed to use that?" I mean, I hear Eddie saying it all the time.
Yeah.
And you can sense that. It's they don't want to almost like be the live guy. They're almost like copying me. But
it's almost become like a staple, like in like when you go to shows and stuff. Like if you see Eddie, you got to throw out like "We are live." Yeah. Like it's become like a thing in a way. You know what I mean?
It's all.
So it's fun. Yes. It's fun.
Yeah.
It keeps the energy going. It keeps people like positive, and
I
like it.
Yeah.
And I feel like I did like a solid 7 out of 10 intro with the live.
You did. It was pretty damn good. I'll tell you what.
I think take 1 is a little bit better, but we'll roll with take 2.
It's good to be on this couch. I've seen I've watched every show since we started.
I appreciate
since
that,
you started.
Yep.
And shout out to all the guys that came before me that have been on this white couch. And here I am, right? We talked about this, I guess, when you first started, right?
Yep, you're one of the first people that hit me up. And it just lined up now where, the Burbank show's coming about here actually, I guess it technically starts tomorrow.
Yes.
So, getting people out here and being able to get them on the podcast at the same time, I feel like is really cool. And getting people with, different, you don't want to get like the same type of people always, or like you can be in the card industry, but there's so many different sectors, right?
Oh, sure.
There's auction houses, there's card shops, there's Eddie, which gives people like liquidity, right?
Yeah.
And one of the goals with the podcast is try to bring as many people from the card industry, but in different sectors.
Sure.
And have just a nice conversation and an open, positive conversation. So yeah, I'm glad to have you on, my man.
I know. I'm glad to be here.
Your business in cards, and just a little bit of background of yourself.
Yeah. So a lot of people don't know I've been in the hobby for quite some time. I mean, I started collecting when I was probably 10 or 11 years old. That was back in 1984. I don't look birthday, so shout out to me right
shout
there.
Out Eddie.
I've been collecting since a young child. Started at probably, like I said, 12, 13 years old. Started trading and flipping, of course, and fell in love with baseball cards in general, me being a big sports fan. And me also being a natural entrepreneur, I started to sell at shows, even at the early ages of like 15, 16, 17, started doing card shows and buying and selling. And then, of course, growing into going from being a dealer to actually being a promoter, being an entrepreneur myself. I said, well, you know what? I could do this better. And some of these shows that I was going to at these malls, it was boring and dull. And I felt I could bring in a lot more people with some marketing. So even at an early age of like 19, 20, 21, I started to promote shows at malls. I started to bring in athletes to sign autographs and do other promotions. So I was like that live guy even back then at like 20, 21 years old. And did that maybe to my mid-20s. And then, of course, it was a junk wax era. And we went in a different direction. We grew older and got into other, businesses and stuff, and sort of stopped, got out of the hobby. Like, you hear a lot of people saying, and then I, jumped back in like 2018 when I saw some opportunity, and I had maybe some adult money that I could go out and buy cards that I could never afford as a young child. So, yes, I have been around the hobby for quite some time.
What was that experience like when you were having to basically find another career path or find another business after you left cards? Like, was it an easy transition where it was something like you already had something going on while at cards at the same time, or did you kind of just stop cards and go out and experience and try to find something new?
Yeah, I stopped. I had a regular business, and it was, we were not only promoting shows, but we were also with my brother. We were the first company to manufacture these acrylic display cases where you put autographed baseballs in and autographed mini helmets. For the mini helmets, we were the first. We went and manufactured them and started to sell them at shows and to dealers and stuff. And of course, we got knocked off, several times. And we were running a real big company. We were getting a lot. We had a huge warehouse full of acrylic display cases. And so for me, being an entrepreneur, even at that young age, it was easy for me to move on to the next thing, right? As an entrepreneur, you did your thing. I felt I was successful, but I saw where the market was going, and I was able to move into something else. And I think at the time it was probably, I've been in several different businesses, but at that time, I think I moved into, the just general merchandise, like closeouts and stuff like that. And I focused in on that for a couple of years. Nowadays you see people buying like these pallet loads, like returns from like Amazon and stuff, and flipping that stuff. I was doing that back in those days, buying closeouts from like department stores and stuff. And we would go and, set up at a flea market and sell it or wholesale it and stuff. So
basically you'd buy it from like these like big retailers, and then you'd go to flea markets and flip them. That's actually kind of sick.
Yes.
I didn't even know like that was like a thing.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Closeout business was huge. That was before, like I said, Amazon, and these major companies would have these divisions that they, sold their return pallets. And, I found a good source and started to go to some shows that specialized in it. There was a huge show in Vegas, the ASD show that I would go to. And that's how I, got my resources and bought inventory. And so always been in some type of the flipping game. So
that's what I was gonna say. Like, from what you were saying with the clothing, it's almost similar from like a card aspect of like, having to network, finding inventory, being able to get it at a good price.
Correct.
To be able to move it.
Yeah.
Setting up at a flea market, like, right, similar to setting up at a show on a Saturday or Sunday.
Yeah, we specialized. I was focused in on sort of general merchandise returns. It could have been electronics and stuff like that. And then I moved into like, cosmetics returns, like, women cosmetics and fragrances. And I felt that was always, a good sector to be in. And we started buying pallet loads of, cosmetics and fragrances. And that's how I got. And then my next move was into the fragrance business 100%, where I went to work and as a buyer, first as a sales guy, and then as a buyer with a major fragrance distributor, learned that business there. And then I started my own fragrance company, wholesaling, buying and selling. And of course, to a point where I had retail stores, outlet stores, and then got to a point where I was selling to chain stores. So your fragrance business, like, was that like your own brand, or was it like you being a distributor in a way? We were like sort of like a broker. We would wholesale and buy, whether it was, Calvin Klein or Versace or, Estee Lauder, Givenchy, Christian Dior, all the major brands you could buy on, wholesale from different distributors and different brokers, just like it is in the, sports card hobby right now. You're buying from someone and flipping.
Yeah.
We would flip Christian Dior fragrances, and
that's gnarly to think about.
So we would either flip them to other wholesalers, or we would sell them to independent perfume stores. And we were on the phone selling, and I had a couple of sales guys, and we would call up, just like we would call up someone with a Josh Allen RPA. We would call someone up with, we had the Christian Dior Poison, and we have 180 pieces available. How many do you need? And this is what the discount is. So that's always been a hustler, Sasha. Always been, buying and selling.
So what got you that itch to be like, okay, I'm ready to come back into cards?
Well, moving over from fragrances to, several other businesses, to, opening up a small chain of like, quick serve restaurants. I did that.
You did restaurants?
Yes. Did a quick serve restaurant concept that I started from the ground up, and did that for a few years.
You like cooking too, because I've seen videos like on Instagram of you, in the kitchen, just putting in some work.
Yep. Love to be in the kitchen. Love to be creative. I'm a pretty good cook. My dad was a chef, owned restaurants, so I grew up in the restaurant game, and always wanted to, own my own restaurant, and I did, and crossed it off the bucket list, but never again. And even back then, it was very challenging to, get a restaurant up and going and making it successful. Now it's even tougher, but I was able to do that, and I could chalk it up as, I think, a success. I was able to sell it and move on, right? And it never went out of business. A lot of restaurants go out of business, probably 80-85% of them. So we had a good concept. I was always a lover of steak sandwiches and cheesesteaks, and I created a cheesesteak concept. We imported the bread and meat from Philadelphia, right? We brought it down from Philadelphia, and we served an authentic cheesesteak, with the cheese whiz, and it was successful. But my goals were to open up several of them, and when I couldn't get to a point where I couldn't raise enough capital, and the vision that I had to open up several of these things at the time, couldn't raise the capital fast enough, and I didn't want to just own 1 or 2 stores. That's not what I was. I had the vision to, maybe do 10, 15, 20, 30 stores and build a real company, not just be an independent store owner. So I was able to sell it off and move on to the next venture in my life. So I think I moved from the restaurant business into the finance business. I went and again got a sales job for a finance company back in 2007 or 8, where a lot of small businesses couldn't get money from a bank, and banks weren't lending. And I started with a company that was lending to small businesses privately. I learned that and started as a sales guy and became the director of sales and marketing, and learned that business from start to finish. From whether it's the sales side, the marketing side, the underwriting side, the finance side, and worked for the company for, a few years, became vice president of that. And then being an entrepreneur myself, of course, again, I think that I can do it on my own, and created my own funding company and resigned and started my own private funding company with a small group of investors. And we started, funding small businesses. And I did that for about 10 years and built up a nice company until I sold it off to a what we call a private fund or syndicator fund that was already investing with us, for the main reason to start Investacard, right? Because I had the passion again. I got back into the hobby. I was buying a lot of high-end vintage cards, and I saw an opportunity that where we are today with the finance and lending against sports cards. And I was able to transition and exit that company to start Investacard and do this 100% and employ people. And here we are right now.
Here we are.
Yes.
So what was the vision for Investacard when you first basically started it?
The vision was to create a platform to where we can, lend against these high-end sports cards, where someone who had a high-end card, just like if they have a house or a piece of art or, a high-end luxury car that they want to borrow against. And I felt that sports cards fit that mold, right? Because from what I was seeing the first year that I was in the hobby and going to all these shows, is that there weren't many liquidity options outside of just selling or making a trade, right? These high-end collectors or investors were sitting with these cards that were worth $20,000, $50,000, $100,000, $500,000, but there weren't many options to borrow against. Create a service to where we can lend against these, and I could utilize the experience that I had from the business funding side, not only the sales experience, but also some of the technology that we were using to underwrite and to sort of automate the whole process to where somebody could bring us a card that was worth 50%, and we can underwrite it within minutes, and we can fund it, immediately within minutes, and be able to collect on it. And that's where we're at here. The first year that I started Investacard, we didn't go into the finance game right away. I fell into the buying and selling game and sort of brand building, like you saw with the live shows and me being at shows, buying and selling. But I found out real quick that I didn't want to be just speculating fully on just buying and selling. I didn't want to just be in that business.
Because you're doing that for like a solid year. I remember you guys were buying a lot of low end too, like when a lot of orders started coming back from PSA. You're doing that. You're doing your vintage. You're doing a little bit of everything in terms of like the single side.
We were creating a buying and selling platform, more of not just fully buying and selling, but we created a partnership program. I saw opportunities to where
you had that vault too. I forgot about that.
Well, even before the vault, we got the vault for the finance side, but before the vault, we had a partnership program, because in 19, the whole grading thing hadn't really taken off fully until maybe the later part of 2019. And I saw a lot of opportunities where so many people were sitting with raw cards and they didn't understand the process of getting those cards graded and getting them sold on eBay and stuff like that. So we created that service to where we would take your cards in, we would service them, we would catalog them, we would cover the cost to grade them, and then we would sell them, and we would charge a fee. And
that was with SGC too,
yes,
right?
That was with SGC. We started there in 2019. We created that service, and our team at Investacard built a platform, automated platform, to where we could take the cards in and get them listed on eBay, and then once it's sold, the partners got paid immediately. Unfortunately, COVID hit, and the grading companies got backed up.
Yep.
But we were promoting SGC quite a bit. We like to say we were one of the first selling, trading and flipping modern cards there. We were doing a lot of content, showing a lot of SGC, and a lot of people were like this to us, right, about SGC.
People did not like SGC back then, and now when you see them, you see them at National. They're almost starting to get a run for their money. Like with BGS now, I feel like SGC is right there, right there for that number 2 spot. Whereas I feel like BGS is kind of coming down a bit. SGC's growing, so
especially on some of the record-breaking prices, on cards that are in SGC slabs, but they've grown quite a bit. They've done an unbelievable job. I still do a little bit of business with them when we do need some cards graded and stuff. So they've grown. When we first started with them, just like any other company that's in growth mode and scale mode, you're going to have bumps in the road, and they definitely had some bumps in the road, but they've
overcome them. Yeah.
Yes, they've built a great service, and I think they're one of the fastest out there in terms of getting your cards back. And but unfortunately, when we were signing up a lot of partners, and we were grading a lot of cards, and we were selling a lot of cards on eBay, we probably signed up 300 or 400 partners or more that were sending us cards. But we couldn't get our cards back fast enough for one reason or another. And I had to pull the plug on that program because I saw what I saw, and I couldn't be in a business where I couldn't control my own destiny. And of course, we had to pull the plug on the partnership and pivot and say, you know what, we're going to stop this business here, and we need to focus now on the finance side, because this is what I started Investacard for.
Yeah.
We got to stop this. And we pulled the plug, and people thought, oh my God, they're going out of business, and just the opposite.
Why did you feel like you couldn't control your destiny with how you were running the business at that time?
Well, for the main reason is that, we send cards out, and they were supposed to be, returned at a certain time, just like everyone went through with not getting your cards back fast enough. And then, of course, COVID came and shut everything down. And if we couldn't get our cards back in time, we couldn't generate sales. We can't generate sales. We've got upset customers, and we put a lot of time and effort into building the partnership program, not only on the tech side and automating it, but on the marketing side. And you know, I don't want to be in a business where I'm just, you know, mismanaging expectations. You know, where expectations are just always disappointed because
it's not a good business to run.
The whole grading, right? And can't get cards back. And a lot of companies were going through that, right? And a lot of people were going through that, not only with SGC, but with PSA and Beckett and stuff. And I felt like it wasn't really a side of the business that we could scale at that point. Now it's a little bit different because the companies are in a better position. They're caught up. They've got better processes. They've added a lot more employees. So partnership program, you know, could work now. And now, of course, I see so many other, what we were doing in 2019, the consignment business and signing up partners, everyone else is doing right now. Even breakers now are doing it, right? I see breakers now, they're in the consignment game. Send me your cards. We'll sell them for you on this, on whatnot. And we'll sell them. We were doing that in 2019. And, but we needed to pivot. And I think we made the right move there in pivoting because I think I'm really good at seeing things before they happen. And I saw what I saw within the whole buying and selling game. And of course, what went on with like all the base cards and all the low end stuff that sort of just took a nosedive.
What was the transition like with your team, like personally, like going from, you know, we're selling singles, signing up partners to now more on the lending side?
The transition was pretty easy because the guys that I had on my team had already experience in the finance business because they came over from the last company that I worked with.
Oh, sure.
Our CTO, Josh, worked with us at the finance company on that side. So he understood where my mindset was and where we needed to be and what we needed to build to get customers to the finish line and get them funded and to build underwriting criteria and models to make this thing successful. Same thing with Canacard. You see Canacard in a lot of my videos. He also worked with us at the finance company. So we all had the experience, right? And it goes for a few other people that you don't see, you know, on my videos that came over with me, whether it's an investor or whether it's someone on our underwriting team. So it was an easy transition for us. And we all had the passion for the finance side. So it was a pretty easy.
So what's the difference? Like if somebody doesn't know, or somebody just knows Investacard, like what's the difference between like the name CardFi and the name Investacard?
Yeah. So, you know, Investacard obviously is, you know, it was designed to be a sports card investor platform. We were buying high-end cards, obviously, and brokering and stuff. And we also invest in high-end cards where we could buy something and maybe we hold it for 3 months, maybe we hold it for a year, maybe we hold it for 2 years. And we buy high-end cards as a group, right, where we maybe take a $50,000 card and have 3 or 4 investors in on it, and then we manage that. And that's part of, you know, our investor platform that maybe some people don't see, right? So that's where Investacard is more of a buying and selling brokerage. We wanted to separate that from the finance side, and that's why I created CardFi. CardFi as being finance, and we felt that it needed to be a standalone, right, brand away from Investacard, where that's what we were focused in on, just the finance side. And that's what CardFi does, creates liquidity for the hobby. And where Investacard is just, you know, our sort of marketing arm right now in terms of, you know, call them a lead generator for CardFi. And,
is there any possibility that, like, you know, the partnership program or anything like that comes back with Investacard, or is it something you're thinking about, or are you super just focused on CardFi?
Right now we're focused in on just CardFi, right? Even though we have all the processes still in place there, and the technology, especially on the consignment side that we built actually we should really be licensing, our whole platform to other guys that are getting into the consignment game, because what we built is really, really, sets us apart from so many other, consigners. It's a fully automated platform to where literally once the card sells on eBay, payments automatically go out. There's no waiting. There's proper reporting. So maybe that's probably something that we would look into, is maybe licensing what Josh built to other consigners. But to get back into the buying and selling game, it's just not for us right now. I think we're focused in on really building the finance and continuing to build this liquidity service for the hobby.
So talk to me more about like CardFi and what you guys what do you guys do for people essentially?
Yeah. So, a collector or an investor that has a high-end card.
That's a beautiful SGC 4 mantle. Wow.
We know that, Mantle's been super popular nowadays, and getting ready to, has already broken the record, right? Shout out to SGC and the 9.5 there. So CardFi provides liquidity for collectors or investors on high-end sports cards. And if you've got a mantle like this that you bought that you don't want to sell, whether it's for the next 3 months, 6 months, a year or 2 years, but you want to use some capital out of it, just as if you owned a home that you wanted to pull equity out of, you can do so with CardFi. We advance up to 70% of the market value on that card. The funds, there's no restrictions on the use of funds. There's no credit check, no personal guarantee. You're pledging the card as, collateral. It's not a loan. It's an advance off what we call the future sale of the card, because the card goes up on our internal marketplace. And then as the owner of the card, you still own 100%. You still have the option to sell the card, even though you have an advance out on it. Whether you have that card up on eBay or MySlabs or another platform or our platform, you still have the option to sell it if you'd like to. So, instead of those cards just sitting in a vault or in someone's house, maybe in their closet or something like that, they can now take some equity out of that card while they still own it, and utilize that capital for whether it's to put into other high-end cards, whether it's to put into other opportunities to generate fresh new revenue for them. So
let's say like this card here, right? That's somebody else's card, right? That
Sure.
You guys took in, lend it off of the card or whatever. So where does that card go? Does it go to, what happens to that card?
Yeah, so we have a full bank vault at our facilities in Fort Lauderdale. We actually leased a bank that was closed down the main reason to take over the vault, right? Just so we can have a safe place for the vault. And it's a real bank vault, fully insured, climate controlled. Every customer has their own box in our vault, and that's where the cards are stored with 24-hour security. So the cards are vaulted there in our CardFi vault, and all the cards are digitally cataloged on our platform, so all of our customers can log into the portal, see their cards, and make any changes that they need to make to their account, whether it's to pay off their balance, whether it's to request to have their card sold, whether it's even in some cases, they might want to trade that card out for a different type of a card. We offer a lot of flexibilities, on the CardFi platform.
So what happens when, I know, there's like PW, we talked about this earlier, there's like PWCC, there's Alt that lends, and there's you guys, and I'm sure there's a couple more of them. Like, what are the kind of the differences and similarities to like what you guys do versus other people?
Yeah, so I think that the whole space, the whole finance space is growing, and it's going to, we're just in the beginning stages of the finance side within the hobby. And you saw it at the National, right? There were a few new companies there, and we're going to continue to see more companies. There are, PWCC has been doing this for quite some time, I guess for about 7 or 8 years, offering their loan service to their customers. Not really mainstream, It's really been something where, it's been behind the scenes
Yeah.
type thing. But I think you're going to start to see a lot more marketing from several of these platforms. I think where we separate ourselves is obviously it's not a loan, it's an advance off the future sale of the card. I think where we bring our finance experience over, and I think to compare us to them, we're more of, let's call it the subprime, right? Subprime lender, where we're willing to take a little bit more risk on the cards and advance out a bigger percentage versus off the value of the card. Where maybe if you went to one of these other platforms, they might go to 30% or 35% or 40%, where we're going to go up to 70%, right? And I think with our ability and our automation, we can get the deals done a lot faster, right? There's no waiting with us. It doesn't have to take a week or 2 weeks or go through several different departments. The platform that we created is fully automated, in terms from the underwriting all the way down to the funding and the collecting. So if you send us a card, we're going to get it approved within minutes. And the day that we receive that card is the same day that we're going to fund your account. So if someone has an opportunity to take advantage of CardFi, would be the route to go in terms of getting the deal done fast.
You guys seem to be assuming a lot of risk if you're going up to 70, right? I mean,
correct. Yeah.
So is there is there a reason behind that?
Yeah. So I mean, we're we've been bullish on the market. We'll go up to 70% on vintage cards, on modern cards. Let's call it a National Treasures. And of course, I had to bring the Zach Wilson National Treasures here. RPA. We're not going to, we're going to be a little bit less riskier on modern cards, somewhere between that 50 and 60%. We're probably averaging close to 60% on modern cards. And then on vintage cards, like I said, 70%. We will go up to 75% on a few cards like a Michael Jordan PSA 10 or a high grade, Mickey Mantle or something like that. So we're willing to take more of a risk, right? Because we have faith in the market. And with the platform that we have, we're able to monitor the market in real time on a day-by-day basis. So we're watching the market.
So let's say a customer gives you a card, you give them 70% of the value of the card, and because I believe it's weekly payments, right?
Correct,
your platforms. So let's say they, for some reason, 2 weeks in a row they haven't paid.
Sure.
Is there a point where it's okay, we're going to go ahead and just sell this card off if somebody's not paying, or how does that work?
Yeah. So it doesn't happen too often, or it hasn't happened too often. The portfolio has been performing quite well. Remember, a lot of the cards that we're taking in are super high-end cards, Grail cards.
That people don't want to sell.
Correct. They either don't want to sell at the time, they want to keep it long-term, or they want to wait for a better time to sell it. But in a case where somebody has missed a couple of payments, we have automated emails and phone calls that go out. If they miss, 2, 3, 4 payments in a row, we're not immediately looking to sell the card. Obviously, there's reasons behind why they miss a payment. So I think a big part of our experience is customer service and providing good service to the customers. In a case where if someone misses a couple of payments and they can get back on track, great. In a case where they miss 2, 3 payments, 4 payments in a row, they're not responding to emails or phone calls, or they just completely go dark, that just tells us that they really don't want to keep the card. We will continue to send out, automated emails and try and contact that person over the next couple, 2, 3 weeks. And if nothing comes from it and they don't respond, obviously the card has to be liquidated. It moves into a liquidation stage where the card gets then sold to pay off the balance. But we haven't had too many of those experiences. We're building a pretty good core of customers that really understand what we're providing. And somebody who gives us a Mantle or a National Treasures or a Michael Jordan rookie card, they're not looking to lose that card. Especially when they have, a lot of equity in it. It just doesn't make any sense. So,
yeah, no, that makes sense. I mean, I I guess the question becomes like, let's say like somebody has like high-end cards. Like, I guess you wouldn't, like if somebody has a high-end card, you wouldn't expect them to basically need to take money out of that card. But I guess in this case, it is that people do want to take money out of the card to use it in other assets. Or
they want to take, definitely there's, several reasons why they would, take capital out. It's the same reason why someone borrows against their home or against, art or what have you, or against their business. We want, we always say that a good customer for us is someone that doesn't need the money, right? Someone who doesn't need the money still is taking the money because maybe they don't want to pull money from their own personal savings. Maybe they don't want to pull money from their house. Maybe they don't want to have to sit down with their significant other and say, listen, I need 30,000 for this or 40,000 for this. They have equity in this card and they can, take capital out with no credit check, no personal guarantee or anything like that. And the process is super fast, right? And I think nowadays when you can put your hands on cash, there's value to that, right? There's value to being able to put your hands on 100,000 or 200,000 really, really quick, or 20,000 for that matter, or 10,000 like we just did this morning on a funding deal that we just funded. Everyone has reasons why they could utilize the capital, right? I think that the need for the capital is being able to need for the opportunity. If they have opportunity where they can put the money into something and earn a return on that and be able to make up the fees that we charge, then it makes sense. But it doesn't make sense to take money out on a card just to put the money in your account so you can feel
you're
better,
not making money with it,
or not making money with it, or to pay your rent or something like that. But we've had guys that came to us that took funds out for a real estate deal, to open up a new business, to generate new revenues. Yes, we've had customers that come and needed 18,000 to pay their daughter's college tuition, right, for the next year, and they were going to be able. It made sense for them. They were be able to afford that weekly payment and not be under pressure of where they were going to get the money from. Meanwhile, they were sitting with it right there in their card. So there's many different scenarios. And of course, the scenario is someone who takes money out and wants to buy a new card, or sees an opportunity to flip a new card, whether it's to buy it now and sell it next week, whether it's to take an advance out at a show. You see us at all the shows funding live right at the show. A lot of people use our service at the show. They'll take $20,000 out on a card on a Thursday or Friday, and then by Sunday be able to use that money to invest in other stuff and and earn a return on it, and being able to pay that off within a month or 2 months or 3 months.
But I feel like on your side too, like how do you, I don't want to say pick out, but like I feel like there's got to be people that just want to get that 70% of whatever it is and then bounce, right? Like how do you weed out, like when you're going through the deal, of like what deals you're able to finance and what deals you aren't? Because at the end of the day, like you guys aren't approving everybody, right? Correct. I mean, there's a process to that.
Yeah, there's a process. And when we first got started and started funding, obviously we were taking in a lot. The selection was a lot bigger than it was now, just to bring customers on. But we're not approving every deal. Obviously, someone who brings us Prism Silvers or a card, second year Kyler Murray auto numbered to 49 or something like that. There are many cards that doesn't fit the model right now. They get declined. So we're being a lot more.
So you're very selective. Well, what you're funding.
We're very selective to the point of obviously the cards have to be a value of at least $1,000, right? The minimum advanced amount needs to be at least $5,000. So the total value needs to be somewhere in that $8,000 or $9,000. But what's making it a lot easier for us right now is that we are seeing a lot of really good cards, a lot of good Grail cards. We're not getting a lot of like people that are trying to bring us their Prism Silvers or their Prism Base or $300-$400 cards. They're bringing us good quality cards, whether that's a star rookie Jordan, whether that's a Mickey Mantle, high-grade Mickey Mantle card, right? Whether that's a National Treasures. We're looking to advance and use our liquidity service. When we're looking at modern cards, obviously we're looking at National Treasures. We're looking at Flawless, right? Those type of cards. And then, of course, across the board on vintage. So we're seeing a lot of Grail cards come through.
This is super left field, but do you guys fund wax, like high-end wax?
We have funded a few wax deals. It's mainly been vintage wax. We just took in a 1972 Topps basketball box with the Julius Erving rookie in it. But we've only dabbled in that a few times. We're looking to obviously get into other assets, whether it could be high-end wax in terms of vintage wax. It could be, graded comic books. So that's definitely on the horizon because the
comic book space is like blown up
Sure.
over the last 6 months.
Yeah.
It's kind of insane.
Yeah.
I don't know if you guys been to Frankensons or have heard about it, but it's like a big Costco. Like, I don't know if you guys have Costco in Florida.
Sure. Yeah.
So it's literally like a Costco except for collectibles.
Sure.
So every Wednesday, I believe it's Wednesday, Saturday, and Sunday, there's a show there, and there's dealers all set up. Is
there a show today there?
Today's Wednesday?
Yeah.
There is a show today, yeah.
What time does that usually start?
It starts at 3, but we can get in. Well, you can get in at like 2.
Nice.
I got the little pass thing. Yeah. But it's crazy because there's one row. People go there for cards, right? Like card guys like us, we go there for cards. There's actually only one row of sports cards there. The rest is Pokemon, Magic, and huge comic books like Yu-Gi-Oh, stuff like that. So the entire rest of the space, other than one row, is everything other than that.
Yeah.
And you go there, and it's super slammed, super busy. Like it's crazy to think about.
Sure, I think there's a lot of opportunity in those different assets.
California just talking mad shit on it now.
Well, I'm just. It is what it is. I mean, it's hyped up like it's like the best thing since sliced bread or something like that. But whenever you have a burger where the bread overpowers the meat, in every instance that I've been there, and the fries, are just like don't even come out hot or they're just whack.
I feel like you guys just had a bad experience.
No. We've already.
You guys get a double, or what do you?
Yeah.
You guys a double?
Yes, double. Yes.
Okay, Vegas doesn't count.
Small burger and never hot fries.
Yeah.
Don't get me started on the animal sauce.
I love In-N-Out. If I see In-N-Out with no line, it's like you gotta make a play. I think Jared put a story up like that the other day. He's like, if you see In-N-Out without a line, you hit. Okay, that doesn't count. Las Vegas doesn't count. Nashville.
There's one in Texas too, right? There's one in Dallas.
I think there is one in Dallas. Yeah.
Every In-N-Out we've been to sucks.
Yeah.
Like 6
I'll take BurgerFi all day long.
All day.
BurgerFi.
Yeah.
Steak and shake though.
Yes.
Again, I just don't think those are comparable because In-N-Out you can get a full meal for like $8.
And you're not full. It's like a child's.
If you get I always get a double fries and a vanilla milkshake, and I'm pretty full at that.
Yeah. Well, you're famous for the In-N-Out. That's from
I like
the beginning.
Cane's. I like Cane's too.
Yeah. King's I heard is pretty good. But it's,
you're on the road a lot. You got to try out different things. I mean,
Yeah.
you're going to card shows. You're doing all this, doing all
Yeah.
that. You
gotta
got
eat healthy though. You gotta eat healthy on the
That's
road.
what I'm trying to figure out though. I'm like, I can't. It's tough.
One thing we do, we eat well when we're traveling.
Yeah.
You gotta eat.
Because you go through the whole show. You're at the show all day. You probably don't eat too much during that period of the show. You
Yeah.
get
Food at the shows.
Yeah, so then when you get to dinner, it's like, all right, I need to have a meal, right?
Sure,
I need to make sure I'm good.
The company that that could get this thing right is someone that can provide healthy meals at these shows, especially these big card shows, and can provide that service to the dealers and people there. That'd be a pretty good business, nice little hustle if they could get a good healthy food service at these shows, especially at the National.
Bro, the National food was bad.
Yeah.
I forgot what I got. I think I got chicken fingers, and I didn't even finish it.
Yeah.
You have a 5-day show. It's okay for a weekend. If you have a show for 5 days, 6 days,
it's tough.
You gotta have healthy stuff there.
How did you feel about the National? What was your experience like out there?
You can see the hobby growing by leaps and bounds. You can just feel it compared to what it was when I last went in 2019. But just from the vibe and the amount of new companies that are in there, and of course the corporate pavilion that they had, and all the,
That was sick.
of course, the bigger companies that are growing, not only on the finance side, but in all aspects of the hobby. The national for us was really good. We got a lot of eyeballs on us, obviously, with the CardFi service, and a lot of new customers, a lot of people coming to check us out, and a lot of good networking opportunities and sort of partnership opportunities. Other companies that want to partner up with CardFi to add the whole card finance service to maybe their platform, where we can just plug it right in and provide.
Is that something
financing.
that is going to happen in the near future?
Sure. It's what we're working on right now. We're in the midst of putting together a few big partnerships. I mean, we do have several companies coming to us to look underneath our hood and see how they can provide finance to their customers with a complete, automated, plug-in. So,
damn, that's interesting.
Yeah.
Like, so maybe they're in a house or maybe a consignor, something like that from that aspect.
Yes. Yeah. Auction houses, marketplaces. Obviously, we're, working with a couple of very big popular marketplaces that most people know about, that we're, just trying to finalize deals. So hopefully you'll hear some news in the not so distant future in regards to CardFi partnering up with some marketplaces to utilize our finance service. That's how we grow and scale this thing. We can't just do it on our own, going from show to show. It needs to be, integrated with other platforms to where we can generate new leads from several different sources.
Well, how was the national from the aspect of just, trying to get cards in? Like, was that experience overall net positive for you guys?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I think we succeeded our expectations in terms of the number of customers, the number of cards that we were actually able to price out and approve. There are some deals that didn't get done at the national that'll get done 2 weeks from the national, or a month from the national, or 2 months. We're already starting to see contacts from people that we spoke to at the national that either we approved and they weren't ready to do the deal there, or they were waiting for an opportunity to put the money into play, where they called us and said, I spoke to you at the national, you guys approved me for $70,000, I'm ready to go now. So
that's cool, man. I really, you mentioned this earlier, the pavilion they had with like the corporate section. I think they did a killer job on that. I mean, just walking through there was like a fun experience in a way. And like all these companies that, you see on social or people have questions about, like that's your opportunity to like go and ask them questions and literally have like a human interaction.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of, it's becoming a real industry. It's not like it was back in the day. And this is real companies growing and scaling, especially from the corporate side. A lot of new capital coming in, as you're seeing with so many platforms, especially on the lending side. Real technology coming in. And I think, again, we're just at the beginning stages of this. It really is in the infancy. It's going to continue to grow out, really fast from several different sectors, whether it's other marketplaces, other finance companies. We're seeing a lot of new grading companies, a lot of good grading technology coming into the space.
Have you heard of Tag?
I've heard of Tag and had some conversations with them. It seems like they've got some really good things going on. They've put a lot of work and technology into their product and service, and I'm excited to see how they evolve. They're obviously going to do a lot more than just grading. Obviously, they're going to be vaulting, from what I'm hearing, and potentially financing. So there might be ways for us to work together on that aspect. So seems like they have a really good, smart team over there. So I'm excited. I'm excited to see them grow, and I'm even more excited to see if maybe we can, work with them and build something together with them.
It's crazy how much the industry has grown over the last year. Like even like with like breaking, for instance, breaking has grown tremendously. I feel like now you're seeing like what's the guys out in Florida,
as many
backyard breaks. Yeah. I mean, they've blown up.
Sure.
And I don't think
Pull wax has been
of course, yeah. Pull wax has been in the game from
the beginning,
a couple years, yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, grinding and hustling
but I mean, I feel like before Chicago National, like a lot of people were getting in from like the card side and like flipping and stuff like that. Whereas now I feel like people are more I feel like the breaking has taken like a bigger stage from like a, I don't know, just from like an overall perspective.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, so a lot of different, breakers or style of breakers that are out there, and backyard may not be for everybody, right? They have a certain type of clientele. They provide, a entertainment that some people may not like. I kind of, I like them a lot. I think it's very entertaining to watch them. I think they're you know their market that they've built, and the way they've built it in the amount of time, you got to give them some props. I mean,
Yeah,
they're
that's what I'm saying. They quickly blew up.
Yes.
I mean, you kind of got to give
And I
them
think
some
they-
respect for that.
I think they blew up because of hard work. It doesn't
Yeah.
come easy, right? They execute and they work hard. You see them every day live at 9 a.m. and not many people can do that, right? And that's what I see when I see backyard, right? Hard workers. That's real hustle. Entrepreneurs, real hustling. They've got a smart team behind them, and they're consistent, and that's key. They never miss a day. 9 a.m. They're live, right? And then of course they've built out all those other, sort of rooms that they have on Whatnot, and breakers that they have, and they're consistent, and they're very entertaining. And you could go over to the other side and look at other breaking brands that are not as vocal and not as, they're okay just being a one-man show, and that's what they do. But
And that's good too. Like, it just depends on how you want to operate the structure of your business. Like,
yes.
for me, like, I'm, some of my favorite breakers, like Mamba Cards. I'm sure you guys heard of them.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
LaFave,
Yeah.
those are,
Car loves Mamba Cards, man. Yeah.
he's a good dude.
Oh yeah.
So those are, two guys that here in LA, like, they've been going able to grow their business. It's cool to see, the uh, even friends like opening up companies and seeing that growth.
Yeah.
And there's not one way to do it. I feel like you're the personality of yourself can affect how you want to operate your business. So it doesn't have
Sure.
to be the same thing as what the next person is doing.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, look at all the people that have come and sat on this couch, right? That where they started from and where they're at today, right? We're
Yeah.
talking about, the Card Vault and
Yep.
several other.
Man, they've been blown up too.
Yep.
I mean, over the last couple, I mean, I met Chris, like, I want to say a year and a half ago, and now he's got 3 shops open.
Yeah.
He's got a growing company. Like,
hustle, and there's a lot of good hobby hustlers that we've seen grow, across the board, not just these breaking companies, but guys, even like Tyler from Santiago Sports,
he has 2 shops, right?
2 shops. He's out there hustling and grinding. He's been in the game for a long time. Those are the guys that are really growing the hobby, right? Those type guys, and you see it in in all aspects, whether it's a breaker, whether it's someone that's starting a grading company, whether it's someone that's starting a finance company. You're seeing a lot of growth, and real companies that are hiring employees, that are
Paying people, yeah.
paying people, and creating multi-million-dollar companies right in front of our eyes. So it's pretty exciting.
How do you feel about I know you guys been to LA a couple times, but I feel like it is needed to have a show like this coming up, like a big show. I never understood why they never brought the National back. I know it was in Anaheim. The first National was in Anaheim. Yeah. I'm hoping that, this is something, and we have the Burbank show coming up tomorrow, and there's a show out in Del Mar, the Union Marketplace. They have a big show. So how are you feeling about like the LA scene and the card scene out here, and from the show aspect?
Yeah, it's stronger than ever. And of course, a lot goes back to, Burbank Sports Cards, right?
Yep.
Rob from Burbank and what they've built over there, their brand, and over the last, they've been in the game for now since, 30 years, 35 years. And Rob does a great job, and he's the best at, customer service and providing, a product to the customer that's walking through that door. And I think that he's paved the way for, several other stores that have opened up in the California area. But
there's a lot of shops that have opened up out here.
Yeah. And I think, we're here for the Burbank Card Show, right? That's why we came to support. We've got a pretty good following here in California. We've got a lot of customers here. We have a lot of customers in Cali that use our CardFi service, and they understand it. They get it. They're, it seems like, I don't know, guys, depending on what city they're in, whether it's from New York or California, they're hustlers, they're entrepreneurs. They know how to move and shake. They understand what we're doing, right? They have a card that it's worth $30,000. They don't want to sell it, but they can take 15 or 20,000, and they have places to put it and make moves with it. It makes sense to them. So we've got a really good, successful group of customers that are in California. So we're excited to meet new guys here and bring on more customers, from California.
Yeah, I think it comes down to people's taste too. Like, I mean, what situation they're in financially and all that sort of stuff. Like you said, I don't think you want somebody that is in a tough spot financially. I don't think that makes sense. But somebody that already has money that just wants to take money out of their card and do something else with it. I feel like that is interesting. Like of like finding like you guys are both at the shows too, and they're funding too. So like that process of like finding the person that like makes sense in a way versus finding somebody that, hey, look, they're going to take their 70 and they're going to dip and they're not going to pay and you have to liquidate the card. Like, I feel like that's like a cool like aspect of like, you guys do some, I know you probably couldn't, but like doing content on that of like,
so,
that would be kind of interesting. Like, how you find like somebody that makes sense for the structure of your business.
Well, like I said earlier, there's not too many of those instances where they just dip, right? So keep in mind, we're averaging somewhere around about 60% advance rate. So, if someone brings us a card and they dip on us, obviously we're in a good spot, right? We're getting the card at 60% or 65%, and we're able to liquidate it fast to get our funds, out of it, So there hasn't been too many instances where somebody, took an advance and then dipped and we lost on, right? Of course, markets go down and cards go down, but we're managing that on a day-by-day basis, and really the core customers that we've been bringing in are guys that have many different revenue streams, right? They're not just flipping cards. A lot of business owners, a lot of guys that own companies, and they have ways to make moves with the money, whether it's in sports cards, whether it's a new business, a real estate deal, a crypto deal, a shoe deal or whatever it could be, Rolexes. I mean, our customers are hustlers, and they're not just taking the money, like I said, to go and go to Vegas with or something like that. Even though we've had a few examples of guys that had high-end cards and maybe they had too much money in cards, and maybe an instance where they lost their job or they for one reason or another, and they needed to pull money out so they can pay this or pay that. Even in those instances they were able to get to a point where they paid off their cards and got their cards back and stuff, and it really helped them, right? Everyone gets into a pinch here and there, right? It happens. But it's pretty successful, across the board.
How do you feel about the card market currently? Like, what are you kind of seeing?
Change, a lot of changes, right? I mean, just like any other market, changes, and we're seeing, of course, we have been seeing, that whole low end market, take a pretty hard nosedive, and we've seen a lot of cards, high end cards, or gold cards also take a nosedive. Maybe they were overpriced, right? Maybe they were pushed up much too high, and now they're coming back down to earth. But I think there's many of opportunities. You just got to find them, right? The market's going to change, just like crypto and stocks and real estate. Markets change, and you just got to adapt to it, and find your niche, find your place to work in, and focus in on what you enjoy investing or collecting. So
Yeah. So for you, what is the stuff that you like to collect?
It could be a $10 card, or it could be a $10,000 card. Obviously, I love collecting vintage Mickey Mantle cards. Um, Joe Namath is in my collection, but I also like collecting, oddball stuff, outside the box stuff. It could be a music card, it could be, I just bought a Kurt Cobain card, right, for $23, graded 8, that you don't see too many of. I've got a nice collection of music cards. I like collecting, autographed rookie cards. I recently picked up a Joe Montana autographed rookie card, a Walter Payton autographed rookie card, a Tony Dorsett. So lots of autographed rookie cards. But I always say, it's not the grade. Buy the card, not the grade, right? You always hear that saying. And for me, I could get the same enjoyment out of buying a $50 card or a $50,000 card. So
it doesn't matter from like the financial aspect. It's more of like if you enjoy that specific card.
Yeah.
We've seen like a lot of like oddball cards like blow up recently. Like a lot of music cards I feel like are picking up. When we talked about, or actually we didn't talk about like tickets. Like tickets have blown up over the last, I want to say, year or so.
Sure. They've gone up and gone down, right? They've been.
Yeah, I haven't like paid attention to it too much, but what else has gone up? Like those video games too, right? Video games have gone up. Like,
we've seen Funko Pops, we've seen graded VHS, right?
So are those things that you're thinking about, like, oh, maybe we'll eventually get into lending?
I think there's opportunities in other assets, in other collectibles. Comic books is definitely, it's pretty big. You've got a lot of investors or collectors that are sitting with high-end comic books, and there's really nowhere for them to go to take capital out, right? So we want to provide that service for comic book collectors. We want to do that. We want to provide the service for high-end memorabilia as well, whether it's something that's game used, or a memorabilia piece that is one of a kind that someone really wants to keep but wants to utilize some equity that they have in it. So yes, we're going to move into that eventually. Other collectibles and comic books. That's next on the agenda.
Are there any other like goals you have like with CardFi or stuff you guys want to get done from a business aspect?
Yeah, sure. I mean, listen, we're in our infancy. CardFi is still in startup mode, right? So I think the goal is to continue to try and scale this, to prove it out, that it's liquidity is an important part of the hobby's growth, right? And providing a service to the collector or the investor where they can get their hands on those funds and pretty quick, and provide a service that where they can utilize those funds, and it costs them an amount that they can live with and that they can profit from, right? So I think our goal is to obviously get to a point where we can continue to provide partnerships for other platforms, and to potentially maybe have a big investor come in and see that that this thing is scalable, and they can come in and help us scale, and come in and that wants to be in the finance side of the business, and turn this into a really multi-million-dollar platform, to where we could have $50-100 million out on the street.
Yeah, it's cool though. Like I've seen some people, like when they're at a show, they see you guys and they like have like a card they want to make a play on, and then they like kind of like give you a card and work it out. It's cool to see like stuff like that happen during a show, where like you can see the concept actually like work in a way.
Correct. Yeah. And in some cases, we're going to get to a point where someone who takes a CardFi advance out, that'll become maybe like almost like a comp, right? Where eventually we're going to get to so many deals that how we underwrite a card and how we value a card. If you take an advance out on this, and then you want to go and sell that card, 6 months down the line, you can show them and say, hey, listen, CardFi, appraised this and advanced against this at $170,000. There's got to be some real.
You're saying that there can almost in a way create a comp.
Correct. Yeah. So yes.
Yeah. That's interesting to think about.
Yeah.
I wonder if like somebody like Alt would do that too, because Alt has their like, comp, like their price tool or whatever, but they're also starting to lend, I believe, too.
Yeah.
So like, let's say there's like a LeBron, whatever, refractor 10, and they lend it at a certain amount. Would they put that up as a comp? I don't know.
Well, especially if the card hasn't been sold and it's rare, right? And scarcity on it, and it hasn't been sold in quite some time, but maybe it was lent against, right? I think there's definitely you have to look at it as some type of a comp, right? Because if CardFi is willing to lend against it, if we're in a case where the card just sold maybe a couple of months ago for $100,000, but we look at the card, we underwrite it, and we feel like the card is worth $150,000, right? And that's what we lent against it at, So I don't think that the whole hobby should be, solely based on the last sale. We can't just, not everything has to be the last sale, especially when we're looking at cards that are rare, that have low pops, that you can't maybe find it again on the market. So
that's been a huge topic, I feel like, in the hobby over the last week or so, is like a card, like you said, like the last comp is there, but maybe it's worth more than that depending on the trajectory of the market, of that card, of that sport.
Yeah.
Because for the last few months, everybody's always been like, well, this is the comp, so I need to be under it.
Yeah.
But there has been like some sort of like, it feels like with a lot of cards, like they've hit that bottom point where now you're kind of starting to see an upswing. So maybe that is also why people are starting to have this feeling of like, look, yeah, the comp is this, but it's actually appreciating in a way.
Yeah, I think it's a challenge for the hobby. I mean, there's not too many other marketplaces or markets where everything is based on like the last sale, and people, when they go to buy it, they have to buy it below, right? That's how it is. It just seems like that way, and it really shouldn't be, right? Because what I feel like the card is worth and what you feel is two different things, right?
Yeah.
I mean, if you go and try and buy this and you think it's worth $130,000,
you're paying over comps right now on any mantle, essentially.
Yeah, like, but it could be for anything. It doesn't have to be just mantles. But if I feel like this Jordan Star is worth $50,000, but the last sale was $30,000, you can't come at me in a negative way, because you may not be able to find it for another 3 or 4 or 5 months. It's okay to charge more than the comp.
Yeah.
It's okay, and
I think it depends on the card, right? Like if you have like you said, like some silver, like some Prism Rookie Silver 10s, and you're charging over the comp, well, then most likely you're probably not going to sell that card for a while, because there's so many more out.
Sure.
Where somebody will give you, whether it is comp or below it.
Correct.
But again, if you're talking about mantles or Star Jordans or stuff like that, where it doesn't come up every day, most of the time you're going to have to either pay right at comp or above, unless you're getting into some sort of bulk deal and whatever that is.
Yeah.
But it's an interesting aspect of the industry. Like when you talk about like real estate, right? Like it's not like you're paying below comp right now. Like you're paying either whatever it's worth or above it.
Correct.
And people are buying into it. So it's cool to see. And in terms of collectibles as a whole too, I feel like, yes, cards have gone down a lot from some aspects, but also I feel like in terms of like stocks and crypto, like cards have held up the strongest in a lot of ways.
Sure. Especially on the vintage side, right?
Yeah. The vintage has appreciated a lot over the last like 6 to 12 months.
Oh yeah.
I mean, it's one of the sectors that has shown increased growth in cards.
Has been. It's always has increased growth over the course of.
But you've definitely felt like over the last year, it's gone up even more than what it was years prior, right? Or no?
I mean, if we look at like the Mickey Mantle Index, or we look at Jackie Robinson or Roberto Clemente Index, I think it's definitely gone down a lot less than a lot of other stuff that's in the card market. I think we saw a really big uptake over the last couple of years, if we look at the indexes and stuff on that stuff, but it's been pretty healthy, and that's where a lot of the high-end collectors are putting a lot of big money right into vintage, and we're seeing record-breaking prices. We're continuing to see, of course, the Mickey Mantle is getting ready to, or it has already broken the record, right? It's already at $8 million with buyer's premium. The question
crazy.
is, will that card get to 10 million plus? And we're going to find out real soon here. So, and I think it's a good thing. I think it's a great thing for for not only Mickey Mantle but for the whole entire market in general, right? To keep on breaking these record-breaking prices.
I guess we'll call like this part of the pod like, what do I call it, something? Because I'll basically, what I'll do is I'll give you like different cards or different like sectors of like the market and say, is it like a buy or a sell?
Yeah.
Well, we got to call it something. Just buy or sell.
What did we call it something?
You had something like that?
Or was hold or hot or not? No.
Hot or not?
I mean,
we can just go buy or sell.
Buy, sell, or borrow. I mean, it's
buy, sell, or borrow. Okay. Buy, sell, or borrow. Okay.
Yeah. Or leverage. Yeah. Buy,
Fit-
sell, or leverage. Right.
I guess. I mean, we got CardFi in the house, so we have to throw that in.
Yes.
All right, here we go. 52 Mantle. What do you think? Buy, sell, or borrow?
Borrow. 100%. Yeah, borrow against it. On the 52 tops. I mean, they're gonna. The really good ones it's really hard to find. Obviously, there's a lot of lower end stuff on there, but no reason to sell that card. I mean, you can keep that card for the next 10, 15, 20 years. It's going to continue to go up. And it, maybe you're going to see it go up slowly. Now we're seeing it grow up, high because, it's mainstream and we're having record breaking prices, but no reason to sell that. Just borrow against it and use the money to make other money with it.
Okay. Jordan Flair 10.
Same thing, borrow against it, leverage against it, because the market right now is, I think it's at a good steady number, somewhere in that 200 to 225 range. I don't think we don't see it going down any further than that. We're advancing 150,000 right now off of those PSA 10s. We were at the National. We're going to continue because we're confident in that card, and I don't think we're going to see that card, fall too far below 200,000. It could get to 170, 175, 180, but I think over the course of time, especially over the next 5 or 10 years, I think you're going to see a lot new collectors, new investors come into the game and want to own that card. So, and there's only a little over 300 copies. So,
what about, let's go a little bit more modern. Trevor Lawrence NTRPA at a 99.
Sell.
So
yeah, definitely sell. I mean, high risk, second year quarterback. It's going to take a little bit of time for that team to get going. And when I say a little bit of time, it could be 2-3 years before we start to see some success out of that team. And it's super high risk. Some of the prices that people are paying for an NT, how much upside do you really have? Where are you going? Like, where are you going with Trevor Lawrence? I mean, unless something spectacular happens and he gets into the AFC Championship game or something like that. But I think that's the next market that you need to really be careful on, because that high-end market, National Treasures, flawless stuff that gets to a certain price, there's not a lot of upside. Look at the one of one finite that just sold, right? I mean, what upside do you have? So for me, definitely sell.
Trey Lance NTRP at 99.
Same thing, sell.
Okay.
His
stuff is so hot right now.
Prices, yeah, everyone's looking for that next hot quarterback, right? A couple of good preseason games. He's that mobile quarterback, that next mobile quarterback that can throw on a run and or utilize his speed and his feet to pick up first downs and so on and so forth, or make plays. But his cards are also getting to a point where it's like, where's the upside, right? So at the market where it's at right now, yes, I would say sold, right? However, there's definitely a few other guys that are holds and borrow against. Not every young quarterback is a sell. So him, I would definitely, in my opinion, just sell.
LeBron Refractor Topps Chrome Rookie PSA 10.
LeBron Refractor, we've done a few of those, and I would say borrow, especially at the market where it's at right now, right? If you can pick up those cards, they've dropped drastically.
Yep.
Huge.
They were at 250,000 at one point.
Yeah.
And now their last comp is 54,000.
Correct. So you and borrow against those and hold those. I think that market could, I think there's some growth in that market because, the Lakers are a team that, they could turn it on, right? And they could find themselves in the Western Conference Finals.
I hope. I'm a Lakers fan, bro. I hope.
If they can stay healthy. And
AD's got to play some games.
Can stay healthy. They could easily find themselves a ring, and of course you have the whole his son coming into the league. So I think there's a lot of opportunity.
Him beating out Kareem for #1 all-time points scored.
I don't think you're going to find that particular card right there drop any further than it is where it's at right now. So I think a smart play would be to pick those up and borrow against them.
It was funny because we brought up AD. I was out in Vegas and somebody had an AD RPA rookie. It was the horizontal one, and it's like, how much is this? And it was like $3,500, something like that. And I was like, God damn, that's like, it's gone down a lot since like the peak of that card. I'm pretty sure that card is like in the 20s.
Sure, yeah.
But AD just literally can't be on the floor that his prices have gone down so much. So I ended up buying a couple of cards off him, got that card in that lot.
Did you sell it already?
I did not. I got an offer on it that I could sell it and make some money.
How much are you selling it for?
It's like $3,500. Yeah.
It's a National Treasures?
Yeah.
RPA? Horizontal?
Yeah. I'll show you. It's here somewhere.
Yeah, maybe we do a deal.
But at the same time, it's AD went down that much. Like, people don't have that much faith in him, if at all. That card's
until he has a couple of good games.
Well, and that's the reason I bought it. I was like, I'm a Lakers fan. Like, I have to at least
he's been in a gym. He's been in a gym, and it seems like
he's also playing a lot of video games too. So I don't know. Well, so I made a couple of bets on Zion this offseason, and I think his stuff in about like 2 weeks is going to be so hot that
sure
I'm gonna have to sell stuff off. But I think that from what I heard, he's been in LA and he's been in the gym like crazy, and he looks really good.
Yeah,
that's what I've heard.
So Zion would be another one I would say, borrow against. I mean, there's a lot of upside with Zion, and
I wouldn't go to say borrow though, because like I feel like Zion is a flip. You know what I mean? Like you got to flip him in October unless you want to take on more risk and hold him out throughout the season.
So there's short-term holds and long-term holds, right? And I would look at Zion as almost like borrowing and against and as a short-term hold, right? Because it's going to be the right time to sell Zion. But if you're able to buy Zion 3 months ago, 6 months ago, 8 months ago, and borrow it against it, like a lot of guys have done with us, they were buying Zion at low prices, and then they were borrowing against it. They're sitting in our vault, and now over the next couple of months is going to be the right time to sell that. Right, so short-term holds versus long-term holds, like a Mantle or a Jordan card or something like that. So, but Zion definitely, we've taken in a nice amount of good Zion cards that we've lent against.
This is a good one. Curry Topps Chrome Refractor PSA 10. Those have dropped a lot.
Telling me.
What happened? You lend against one?
I think that was the one card there that. We saw, he'd go and win a championship, and of course, the market went down on it.
It was crazy. Yeah. During the finals, when they won the championship, there was a Chrome 10 running, and it was less than the last comp before. Correct. It was one of the craziest things.
That's one of the things about the hobby that you can never really understand, right? I mean, obviously, you think cards would go up when they win a championship. We've seen the same thing happen, in football with Mahomes and a few other players, but Curry. Obviously the prices that they are right now for those refractors, I think on that particular card there could be some room for it to continue to go down, right? Even though he's got a pretty good market, especially in Asia, they love Curry over there. But I would say that is Curry seems to be like, still a hold, especially at these prices that they're at right now. So, we would continue to lend against Curry.
Interesting. You haven't hit a sell yet, though. There's not one.
A few sells, yeah.
Like let's say, huh? Oh, yeah, you did say so.
And Trey Lance.
And Trey Lance.
Yeah.
But I want to let me see. I'm gonna give you like a tougher, like Giannis. Let's say like a Giannis NTRPA.
Yeah. So again, I'm going to go right back to leveraging, borrowing. I'd borrow against that card right there.
Big borrow guy here at
yes,
CardFi.
Yes, I'd borrow against that card because he has the, he could win another couple more championships, right? That's a rare card right there, right? Not too many of those around. And, if he wins another one, you got to start to put him in that class with, LeBron and a few other guys, right? And his team has the ability to win another championship. He could easily find himself in the finals
What
a few more
about
times over the next few years.
Tatis?
Sell.
In general, sell.
Yeah.
His stuff's like, isn't his stuff like down like so bad, like 60, 70%?
It was already down, now it's even worse.
Yeah. Obviously, you don't want to. It's a lot of people are selling them. It's a tough time to sell that Tatis, right?
But you got to wait like a year basically for him to play again.
Yeah. But
2 years?
80 games. That's the whole season.
Yeah, and if you're looking to,
it is kind of low key. So
I think you could always get back into Tatis situations like that where they're suspended for 80 games. Selling a card like that and putting the money into somebody else, where you can move that money into somebody else, you're going to have enough opportunities to buy Tatis cards. I mean, so along the way.
What about Luka?
I knew that one was probably coming next. But again, this goes back to what type of Luka cards, right? If you're talking about a high-end Luka card,
let's go Luka Blue Prism PSA 10. Those have gone down a decent amount, right?
Sure.
They're around 30,000, I want to say right now, maybe even a little bit less. I don't know.
Yeah, they were at 50 or 60,000.
Yeah.
Right? I think I would look to a card like that. I would look to sell that card right there, and probably hold a higher end Luka card, almost like National Treasures or a Flawless type card. Those type cards I would look to hold.
A Luka Blue Prism PSA 10 is, let's say, 30,000, and a Trey Red Prism 10 is like what, like two?
5.
No, I think it's less. I think it's like a $2,000 or $3,000 card. It's crazy to think about, right? Isn't that weird?
Yeah, I mean, it's.
And that might be Luka's overpriced or was overpriced versus Trey. That's his market. You know what I mean? I don't know.
Trey's market is really taking a beating, and I saw a lot of Treys at the National.
Yeah.
It's again, you look at the Atlanta Hawks and where are they going? Like what have you?
I think they're a fun team to watch, though.
That you haven't seen over the last few years, unless they get. I know they picked up a couple of nice little pieces, but where are they going? Are you going to find that team contending?
I think they'll be in the mix somewhere. Finals. They can be a 4 or 5.
A lot of teams are going to be in the mix. A lot of teams are going to.
Trey's fun to watch, though. That's the one thing about him. He's got that Curry esque.
He's got that swagger. Yeah. He's got that. He can take over a game. Yes, he does have that. But
so it's a risky play, but it's so cheap in a way where it could make sense to buy some of them.
Yeah.
And whether flip some of that during the season.
I think Trey is more of a hold. Hold card. And
I would just be flipping
over
Trey.
The next couple of years.
I would literally just be flipping Trey because it's so cheap that there'll be buyers, and there's so many out there that you can get your hands on more.
Yeah.
What do you want to say?
I had a question. So if you had to trade into, hold, and sell LaMelo, Anthony Edwards, and John
between the three,
that's tough.
Yeah, I mean, that's a tough one there, but I would say, I would say probably hold Anthony Edwards, borrow against John Morant, and sell LaMelo Ball. Yeah.
I got a hot take one. I think Ja stuff is already high, so I would sell Ja. I would borrow against LaMelo and buy Edwards.
Oof.
No. I think Edwards stuff is higher than LaMelo stuff right now. So maybe I would borrow against Edwards and buy LaMelo. There's more upside with LaMelo. Yeah, but I think Edwards might have a better season this year than LaMelo. I think the Timberwolves That's a solid. They got a solid little squad over there.
I don't know what's gonna work out though with Cat, and I know Cat can shoot, but Gobert can't shoot, so it's like
I mean,
two type of footage out there. It's kind of.
And the thing with LaMelo is that his stuff was selling really well in like the beginning, middle of season, and it just died. Like his blue 10s were like 12, 13,000. Now they're like 4.
Yeah.
His NTRPAs have gone down a decent amount. But again, like Luka stuff went down with that. So like I feel like in that Prism color market, everything is compared to Luka.
I mean, listen, look where he's playing. I mean, it's tough. It's a tough market that he's playing in right there.
He's such a likable guy though.
Yes.
Like his play is like likable. I think he needs to be able to like get his own shot more, because I feel like in this market they want to see like a guy like being able to get to his own spots and shoot.
I think it's going to be interesting to see what happens to that team this year, of course, with the whole Miles Bridges and
I was a little rough.
Yeah, I mean, and they really didn't do much in free agency. So where are they really going? Again, at the end of the day, we want to talk about teams that can actually have an opportunity to get to the finals and win a championship.
Well,
and all roads always, lead back to right now, Milwaukee Bucks, right out of the East, and of course the Boston Celtics, Tatum, and the Boston Celtics. You
forgot one team,
and of course we just heard, obviously Brooklyn. People are going to be talking
about
one
more
Brooklyn.
team. No. You forgot one team, which I thought about this the last 2 days. The Clippers. Well, and I hate to say that. I hate to say that.
West Coast.
Oh,
we're talking about on the East Coast. On the East,
I think KD's a buy.
Yeah. I mean, listen, people were high on him last year with the Brooklyn Nets, and now obviously he's supposed to be staying there. His cards have dropped quite a bit. I mean,
they've died.
They've died. Yes. Look at the refractors.
His refractors at an $8,000 to $10,000 card.
Amazing. So
that's crazy.
Yeah,
that's what I'm saying. Like right now, nobody really likes KD. Isn't this when you should maybe make a couple plays right now?
Yeah, I think you started to see a little of that at the National, and with all the trade talks and stuff. And I think that his market will pick up, and let's see who's going to contend, who's going to come out. We're a couple months away from the NBA season.
Yep, mid-October.
So we're going to see the market change a little bit there. I think you'll have a bunch of KD collectors come out.
I think Kawhi's a play.
Yeah, I was looking for National Treasures Kawhi at the National. There weren't too many around. I think people are holding them.
I got something for you.
Yeah,
I think Kawhi was like 2 months ago. Now it's kind of
no, it's still pretty cheap. I don't think so, because if he goes off and just has a solid 2 weeks, like I think there's still room with Kawhi.
If they can stay healthy, they're going to be tough.
And I hate to say this because I'm a Lakers fan, but it is what it is. Like, yeah, and that'll be interesting to see him play with that dynamic. And then you got PG, which PG is just watching him play is fun when he's like.
Yeah, I watched all my games. Lakers 40 back-to-back nights, so I watched a bucket.
Yeah, another team, is the Denver Nuggets. Obviously if they can stay healthy, a lot of people have forgot about Jamal Murray, right? I mean, I was also looking for some Jamal Murray, National Treasures Jamal Murray, and can't, not much out there. People are holding on to him, but of course the other guy that has been injured there, Michael Porter Jr., right?
Yep. His stuff died too.
Oh.
But is he gonna play? Is he gonna play? Is he gonna play this year? Is he gonna play this year? Or?
I mean, who knows? I mean, same thing with Jamal Murray. But that team could be scary. I mean, of course, Jokic. I mean, I don't think they can give him a third MVP in a row. That's not.
Nah.
There's no way, right?
Nah, I don't. Yeah, no.
I don't know about the Nuggets, man. I feel like they're kind of like the Jazz.
They're that team that's supposed to win, but they always get bounced in the second round. Yeah, they're that team.
So we start out. I was looking at, obviously we look at the Vegas odds for MVP. Obviously Luka's the favorite. I think again.
I think this could be Luka's year.
Yeah. But you mentioned Jean Morant. He's got the ingredients to also, win an MVP. He's got that style of play, and of course Zion could be there as well. So I think it's going to be an exciting NBA season.
I think Bron, like, he's gonna take some games off, like, and stuff like that. Yeah, I as a Lakers fan, like, AD should be taking the full load of like the season. Just AD's, I don't know what to call it. Like, it's just he can't stay healthy.
Yeah.
Right. The reason of having AD was the whole point of he can take the load of the season. LeBron can still play, but in the playoffs, that's when he can be more a part of it.
How much NBA do you actually watch during the season? I mean, like
I used to watch like a lot. Now, like I watch most Laker games. But then once the Lakers were just the whole Westbrook thing happened, and like I watched a decent amount and had to watch, and I stopped watching Laker games because it just would make me so upset. But I watch decent. I mean, NBA is probably my favorite sport I like to watch. I like, every now and again I'll go out to an Angels game. I like watching the Angels play, and like I'm a sport fan, right? I know there's a lot of card guys in the industry that maybe don't even watch that much, right?
Yeah.
But
it's an interesting subject.
I enjoy
because I think a lot of guys collect, but are they really sports fans? Are they really watching games?
Yeah.
Or are they just flipping cards and just that they're buying and selling, but they're not really passionate sports fans?
Yeah, for example, football. Like
find...
I buy football cards, but I tell people I don't know shit about football, and I don't want to act like I do. I just buy what I think is hot and I can flip.
Yeah.
From a basketball standpoint, like I do watch the games. I am involved. Like I'm a diehard Lakers fan. So
yeah. I mean, it's I think it goes hand in hand. If you're a serious collector, a serious sports fan, you should know about the players. You should know what's going on, right?
Yeah.
And within the
I wish boxing cards were more of a thing because I'm a big boxing guy. I love watching boxing. I know UFC has become a thing over the last 2 years, and that's why I've got into it, because it is kind of like that combat thing that I can like buy and sell.
One of the cards that I bought at the National was a cheap card for, I think it was $35-$40 or something like that. I bought an autographed, Buster Douglas rookie card.
There you go.
Autograph card. And why? Because he was part of the biggest sports upset in sports history, right? He knocked out Mike Tyson, right, in his prime. And I actually had Buster Douglas on my live show during the quarantine.
Really?
Yeah. So I saw that card, and I picked it up, and most people say, "Why would you buy that?" Well,
I like it. Yeah, it's cool.
He's not.
I buy sticker and vintage like Muhammad Ali stickers and stuff like that because it's cheap and I think it's cool.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I also think it's like underappreciated versus like you see these mantles and stuff, like I don't know. So
yeah. But I think non-sport or not mainstream sports, UFC, wrestling, we've seen a huge uptake in some of that stuff. UFC, wrestling, really grow over the last couple of years. They've grown and then they've gone the other way as well, right? A lot of hype around that stuff.
Yep.
And where do you think that whole market is, in terms of like UFC? And
it's come down a lot, man. Like it got hyped up. Like Hamzat Golds got hyped up, and then they've dropped significantly. I just think from like what you can get into it at right now, and if people are like want to flip, like that's such a good area because you can get Prism Color for under $100 and that stuff, and
Sure.
It's liquid, like and it's not too expensive.
UFC, F1,
people,
right?
Well, F1 is another one that went down a crazy amount.
Yeah.
I think that it probably still has a little bit more room to go down from some aspects, but I see like the true collectors, right? When I got into like when I first went to my first trade night at a Bullpen LA, it's all collectors. Like you see the collectability, and that's one thing that I think you want to see in any industry you're in. You want to see like the true collectors. The collectors make that market.
Sure.
And that's what it is. Like you need collectors to hold cards and chase cards and go after. Like you need that. Right? You need that in a market. That's why vintage. A lot of guys that buy vintage, these Mantles and Hank Aaron's and Willie Mays and Jackie Robinsons, they're true fans of these athletes. They understand the cards. They're a collector of the cards, right? So, that's what you need to see in this industry. You need to see the collectability.
Sure.
Yeah, I think we should. That was a solid pod. I think we should end it there. Yeah. Unless there's anything else you want to bring up. You want to butcher In and Out for me again?
No, we can end it on You want to end it right there, or you want to end it?
No, I mean we'll do an outro, but I was just saying if there's anything else you want to bring up.
No, we covered a lot of stuff.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate it, guys, for tuning in. Thank you guys so much. If you're watching on YouTube, make sure you like and subscribe. If you are listening on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, make sure you hit that subscribe button as well. Appreciate it. And to follow Eddie, do you have a personal like Instagram that, or is it just you go through CardFi and Investacard?
Yeah, personal Investacard. You can find us Investacard on Instagram, Investacard.com or getcardfi.com.
Okay.
So if they want to reach out to us, it's pretty easy and simple. If you're looking to maybe utilize our service and you have some high-end cards and you want to get a free sports card valuation, just got to send us a DM on Instagram and send us some pictures of some cards. We'll be able to price those cards out and then have someone jump on the phone and take them through the whole entire process. It's pretty simple and painful process. So, but you can find us there at Get CardFi, or you can call us directly. So if you're not into sending emails or DMs, you can always call us at 877-492-2737. And myself, or one of our sales guys or Canacar could jump on the phone with you. As a matter of fact, before we go, I got to bring in the team that's here with us, right? Real quickly. So Josh, come on in, and Canacar, come on in. So it's not just me behind the scenes here.
I'm gonna get up so you guys can fit in.
Yeah, let's bring Josh in here.
Let's do the whole thing.
Yes.
4 guys on the couch. Ain't nothing wrong with that.
That's it. You always see me out there, but there is more than me behind CardFi and Investacard. Josh here, our CTO, built the whole back-end technology. He's the reason why we can fund so fast. And, of course, you all seen Canacar. He's been with us from day one at all the shows, hustling, grinding, taking care of operations, making sure that I stay in line, and we get the job done. So this is the team here at CardFi. There are a few other guys. Shout out to Brandon back home there, director of marketing, doing some good things on the marketing side, and a few other pieces on the underwriting side that we have. So that is the CardFi team right there. Sasha, I want to thank you for having us down here. Sure. It's always fun coming to visit you and see you when we come to California.
Yep.
I hope you got a good place for us to get some lunch, because I'm starving.
We're gonna get some lunch for sure.
And then of course we're gonna be live. Well, by the time this video comes out, the Burbank show would have been complete. But yes, we came live. Shout out to the team over there at Burbank for putting on the Burbank Sports Card Show, 100%. And we're excited. Yes,
100%. Well, appreciate it, guys, and we'll see you guys next time.
Thank you. Okay.